Chosen one, listen carefully. Heaven has just interrupted your waiting. The silence that lingered over your life for so long is now cracking open like dawn after endless night. You thought God had forgotten you, but the truth is far more powerful. He was preparing the stage for his own entrance. When God steps in, time bends, chains break, and every delay begins to make divine sense. You have not been abandoned, you have been positioned. There were nights when you cried, asking why the promise hadn't come. You looked at others rising, wondering if God skipped your name. But hear this, you are not behind schedule. The author of time never loses track of his chosen ones. Heaven has been silent not because God was absent, but because he was orchestrating something far greater than your understanding could hold. Every not yet was a shield, not a rejection. Every pause was a preparation, not a punishment. The Spirit of God whispers right now, this is the moment where delay breaks. This is the hour where divine interruption enters your story. Heaven is stepping into the scene you thought was over. The door that once refused to open is now trembling under the weight of destiny. You have been tested, yes, but you were never forsaken. The angels that once watched in silence are now moving into action. Beloved, do you feel it? The spiritual temperature is shifting. What was heavy is lifting. What was impossible is bending toward you. When God decides the time, nothing and no one can stop it. Every prayer you prayed in secret has reached the throne. Every tear has been counted and stored in heavenly jars. God did not ignore your pain. He recorded it as evidence of your faithfulness. The ancient words still speak, carried through ages to find you now. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus. Chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That is your command in this hour, to be still in heart, not still in progress. The battle is shifting from your hands to His. Heaven fights when obedience begins. You see, God does not need favorable conditions to perform miracles. He often chooses the most impossible backdrop, so His glory cannot be mistaken for human effort. You thought it would happen when you were stronger, richer, or more connected. But God says, now. He steps into the storm, not after it passes. He speaks life into what others have already buried. The very place of disappointment becomes the birthplace of deliverance. Chosen one, there are angels assigned to your name, and they are moving now. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who shut the mouths of lions, who raised Lazarus from the tomb, is breathing over your situation. When He steps in, logic collapses, protocols break, systems bow. What you couldn't move with years of effort will shift in a moment of divine favor. You are not ordinary. The light within you unsettles darkness. That is why you faced so many battles before the breakthrough. Hell fought you because heaven marked you. You were never fighting for attention, you were fighting for destiny. Every attack was a clue that something mighty was about to emerge from your life. Now the wait is over. God Himself steps into the room of your reality and says, enough. This moment is sacred. The air around you is not random, it is heavy with prophecy. Do not scroll past this moment. Do not dismiss what you feel. You are standing on holy ground, right in the middle of your turning point. The winds that once pushed against you are now carrying you forward. Heaven is rewriting your timeline. Your assignment now is simple: stay aligned, stay expectant, Stay awake. Speak no more words of defeat. Begin to thank Him as though the miracle has already arrived, because in the Spirit it has. What was hidden is being revealed. What was closed is being unlocked. And what was barren is beginning to bloom. The one who called you chosen has not changed his mind. This is not motivation, it is divine confirmation. Every obstacle that mocked your faith will soon serve as proof of God's intervention. The silence is breaking, the light is rising, and your miracle is forming even as you read these words. Heaven has stepped in. So lift your eyes. Chosen one, the delay has expired, and the promise is breathing. Declare aloud right now, my miracle is rising. Then seal this prophetic moment by liking, sharing, and subscribing, not for the algorithm, but as an act of faith and agreement with heaven's move over your life. Type 777 inches, the comments, as a sign that you receive divine completion and perfect timing. Your waiting has ended, your miracle has begun. Chosen one, the appointed hour has struck. The clock of heaven has aligned with your life, and everything that once seemed delayed is now right on time. What felt like waiting has been divine synchronization. You thought you were standing still, but God was aligning the unseen. There are no coincidences here. This moment has been written in eternity, long before you ever cried your first prayer. You may not have felt the shift, but the spiritual calendar just turned in your favor. The divine sequence has reached its activation point. Every disappointment, every detour, every delay has folded into this appointed hour. Nothing was wasted, not even the waiting. Heaven has perfect precision. The creator of galaxies also governs the timing of your breakthrough. There is a reason it didn't happen earlier. If the promise had arrived when you demanded it, it would have crushed you instead of carrying you. God was not denying you, He was developing you. He was building the strength to sustain the very blessings He designed for you. What was withheld was not lost, it was preserved for this exact moment. Look closely at your life. Chosen one, the patterns are beginning to make sense. What you thought was chaos was choreography. Every door that closed was not rejection, it was redirection. Every silence was not abandonment, it was divine incubation. The Father never wastes time, He redeems it. You are standing at the edge of manifestation, and heaven whispers, now. As the prophet Isaiah declared long ago, Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22, at the right time I, the Lord, will make it happen. These are not poetic words, they are divine law. When God says it is time, no delay can stand, no resistance can last, and no gate can remain shut. The same God who spoke creation into existence now speaks to the timeline of your life. His word does not consult human calendars, it overrides them. Perhaps you once thought you missed your chance, that the window had closed. But heaven operates outside your deadlines. The God who revived Sarah's womb in her old age, who restored Job after devastation, who raised Lazarus after 4 days in the tomb, is reminding you that He is never late. When He arrives, He redeems all that seemed lost. He compresses years into moments and turns lifetimes of waiting into sudden fulfillment. You see, divine timing isn't always comfortable. It rarely matches your expectations. There are seasons when you must endure the tension between prophecy and fulfillment, between promise and manifestation. Those are not wasted years, they are womb years. The unseen roots of destiny grow deep while the world sees nothing above the surface. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not happening. Chosen one, heaven's clock never runs slow. You are not missing your miracle, you are maturing into it. The delay trained your discernment. The waiting sharpened your wisdom. Now you can tell the difference between what glitters and what is truly divine. You no longer crave premature blessings because you have learned the power of appointed ones. The air around you is thick with divine alignment. People will soon say, "It happened all of a sudden." But you will know it was years in the making. Heaven moves suddenly on earth, but never hastily in preparation. Every divine suddenly is the result of long, hidden obedience. You have been faithful in obscurity. Now, grace unveils you in destiny. This moment requires recognition. If you treat it as ordinary, you might miss its magnitude. Pause and perceive the shift you feel is not imagination, it is invitation. God is inviting you into manifestation. The door you once knocked on with tears is now opening with ease. The favor that felt far away is now flowing toward you. The very environment that resisted you will now respond to you. Chosen one. Understand this truth. Divine timing is not about your clock. It's about your character. God waited until you were ready to carry what once would have crushed you. Now that you have grown, He can release what He promised. You had to be transformed to receive what you once only dreamed of. Heaven's schedule aligns perfectly with your readiness. There is peace in this timing. Rest in it. You no longer need to chase opportunities. They will find you. You no longer need to prove your worth. Your preparation has already proven it. When it is time, you won't have to force it. Grace will carry it. God's timing does not need your anxiety, only your agreement. The hour has come. Heaven is moving. You are stepping into divine synchronization, where everything aligns: purpose, people, provision, and promise. What felt like a lifetime of waiting becomes a moment of wonder. Every second heaven withheld will return multiplied. Chosen one, the appointed hour is not coming, it is here. Step forward with quiet confidence. The waiting room has transformed into the birthing room. The prophecy is turning into presence. Your time is now. Chosen one, you were hidden for a reason. You have wondered why God kept you out of sight while others were being celebrated. You questioned why your name was never mentioned in rooms where you knew you belonged. But the Spirit whispers, it was not neglect, it was protection. Heaven was shielding your preparation from premature exposure. God was crafting you in quiet. So no counterfeit could claim credit for what only He would reveal. The hidden years felt endless. You watched others advance while you remained unseen. Yet in that obscurity, you were being anointed. While no one applauded, heaven approved. While men overlooked, God was over-preparing you for an unveiling that would not need explanation. He hid you so that when your time came, you would emerge with depth. Not just display, with authority. Not just appearance. Chosen one. Understand this divine mystery. When God hides you, it is never to diminish you. The cocoon is not punishment for the caterpillar, it is transformation. The darkness you faced was not the absence of God, but the womb of His work. You were becoming someone who could carry what you once only prayed for. Those silent years refined your discernment, sharpened your spirit, and killed the need for human validation. Many could not find you because God hid you in plain sight. He made you invisible to protect the integrity of what he placed inside you. If the enemy could not locate you, he could not sabotage you. Heaven assigned anonymity as armor. Even your loneliness had purpose. It separated you from noise so you could hear the whisper of destiny. As was spoken through the writings of David in the Psalms, Psalm chapter 91, verse 1, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." That shadow has been your shelter. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was building your foundation. You were being taught how to dwell, not just visit. You were learning intimacy with the one who calls you chosen. The secret place is not glamorous, but it is glorious. It is where tears turn into trust, and silence becomes instruction. Every prayer you prayed alone became a brick in the unseen structure of your destiny. When God hides you, He also heals you. He removes the addiction to applause so that when your name is finally spoken in public, you will not crave validation, you will carry vision. Chosen one, there is something sacred about being unseen. The hidden season is heaven's training ground. The roots grow deepest when buried. The Lord did not forget your name, He preserved it. You were not excluded, you were incubated. God has a pattern. He hides Joseph in a prison before revealing him in a palace, conceals David in fields before crowning him in the kingdom, and shelters Moses in the desert before sending him to deliver Israel. The same pattern rests upon you. The world sees hiding as delay, but heaven calls it development. When you are hidden, you are not on pause, you are being perfected. Every closed door was a lesson. Every unanswered call was a divine redirection. You were not ready for exposure until your character could handle it. Now, the season of concealment is nearing completion, and the sound of unveiling is echoing through your spirit. Chosen one, take heart. You did not miss your moment. You were being made for it. Soon, what was private will become public proof of God's faithfulness. The same people who could not see you will witness the fruit of your hidden obedience. When God reveals you, He does not need introductions. He simply shines through you. And when He shines, darkness must step back. Do not despise the hidden years, for they were holy. They forged endurance, humility, and strength. They built a foundation deep enough to hold the weight of destiny. The silence you once feared has become your sanctuary. You learned that being unseen by man is not the same as being forgotten by God. You were never forgotten, you were being formed. Now, as heaven prepares to unveil what has been concealed, walk in quiet confidence. You have been approved in the secret place. And that is all that matters. The time of hiding has fulfilled its purpose. What God hid, He now reveals not for fame, but for function. Before you move on, chosen one, pause and affirm what heaven has done in secret. Type, "I am ready," in the comments. This is more than a phrase. It is a declaration that you understand the purpose of your hiding and are prepared to be revealed in divine timing. When you write it, you agree with heaven's plan and acknowledge that what was once hidden is now ready to shine. You are not emerging as you were. You are rising transformed, tested, and trusted. Heaven has completed its work in silence. Now the curtain lifts. The world is about to witness what God has been crafting behind the veil. Chosen one, when the storm was training you, you did not see it. You only saw the chaos, the winds that tore through your plans, the rains that soaked your hope, The nights when thunder echoed louder than your prayers. You thought it was punishment, but it was preparation. Heaven was not trying to destroy you, it was teaching you endurance. The storm was not against you, it was for you. There are lessons that only storms can teach. Sunshine grows comfort, but storms grow character. Every gust that tried to break you was building spiritual muscle. Every wave that threatened to drown you was pushing you to learn how to stand on faith alone. God allowed the tempest not to test your strength, but to reveal His within you. You survived what was meant to end you because grace became your anchor. Do you remember those moments when you thought it was over, when your prayers seemed unanswered, and your peace felt stolen, yet even in that, something inside you refused to quit? That something was the divine seed of resilience. God planted it before you ever entered the storm. When everything else fell apart, that seed of faith kept you standing. It whispered in the dark, "This too shall pass." And it did. The storm was never chaos without purpose. It was heaven's classroom, teaching you to trust beyond logic. When you couldn't trace God's hand, you were learning to trust His heart. The thunder made you listen. The lightning made you see. And the silence between them made you wait. Each wave stripped away what was temporary, leaving only what was eternal. You lost what you thought you needed to discover what you truly had: God Himself. You see, storms reveal two things: what cannot last and what cannot be lost. Every friendship that faded, every plan that collapsed, every path that closed it, all exposed what was built on sand. And yet, even as it all crumbled, the foundation of your faith remained. That is why you are still here. You may have scars, but you also have strength that only the storm could teach. As the Apostle James wrote long ago, James chapter 1, verse 3, "The testing of your faith produces perseverance." Chosen one, storms are not signs of God's absence, they are evidence of His involvement. The wind obeys His command, and the sea listens to His voice. If He allowed the storm, it was because He saw something in you worth refining. You were not being punished, you were being purified. Gold is not destroyed by fire, it is defined by it. You, too, are coming out of this refined, radiant, and ready. Look back now and notice what the storm took, but also what it gave. It stripped away false peace and replaced it with true strength. It silenced the noise of distraction so you could finally hear the still, small voice of God. It forced you to let go of control and learn the art of surrender. In the eye of chaos, you met the calm of the Creator. Sometimes, God sends a storm not to sink your boat, but to reveal what's been hiding beneath the surface. You discovered the depth of your faith when the waves rose. You discovered the power of prayer when no one else could help. You discovered that your roots went deeper than fear. What was meant to drown you taught you how to breathe differently. Chosen one, storms always end. No tempest lasts forever. The same God who allows the rain also commands the rainbow. What began as turbulence will end as testimony. You are walking proof that survival is not accidental, it is spiritual. Every tear you shed watered the soil of your future victory. You were never losing, you were being strengthened in secret. Now, as the storm clouds begin to part, you will notice the air feels cleaner, the light feels brighter. The sky, once dark, is now clear with divine purpose. You no longer fear storms because you understand them. They do not signal your downfall, they signal your development. Every storm that once terrified you has now become your teacher. There is peace in knowing that what was meant to break you has built you instead. The storm was the sculptor, shaping you into someone who can stand under the weight of destiny. The patience, wisdom, and compassion you now carry are the treasures the storm left behind. You have weathered what others ran from, and that endurance is your crown. Chosen one. The storm was never your enemy, it was your initiation. It proved your faith, purified your motives, and prepared your path. And though the winds were fierce, they could not uproot what heaven planted. You have graduated from the storm's lesson. What comes next is the calm of divine fulfillment, the moment when the sky clears and the voice of God says, "Well done, chosen one." The tables are turning. What once stood against you is now shifting in your favor. You may not see the full picture yet, but heaven is rearranging everything behind the scenes. The same ground where you once wept will soon become the stage of your rejoicing. Every closed door is creaking open. Every accusation is being reversed. Every injustice is bowing to divine intervention. The God who sees all is stepping in, not to defend your ego, but to display His glory through your story. For a long time, it seemed as though darkness had the final word. You were misunderstood, misjudged, and mistreated. You carried pain in silence because you refused to retaliate, and heaven took note of every tear. You did not fight back with bitterness, you waited with faith. And now, the one who fights for the faithful has risen on your behalf. You do not need to seek revenge. God Himself is rewriting the narrative. As it was written in the first book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." These words are not just ancient history, they are your present prophecy. What was designed to break you is becoming the very bridge to your breakthrough. The pit you were thrown into is becoming the platform from which God will raise you. Chosen one. Picture this: the potter's wheel spins fast, almost dizzying. Yet every rotation is intentional. You may have felt that your life was spinning out of control, but in the potter's hands, chaos becomes craftsmanship. The pressure you felt was not random, it was divine design, shaping you into a vessel strong enough to hold new glory. And just like clay cannot argue with the potter, you were not meant to understand every turn, only to trust the hands that hold you. There were moments when people walked away, leaving you questioning your worth. But sometimes, God subtracts before He multiplies, like a gardener pruning a rose bush. He cuts away not to harm, but to make room for greater bloom. You had to lose a few branches to bear lasting fruit. You may not have understood it then, but even the pain was prophetic. Now, the tables turn quietly, without announcement, without noise. The ones who doubted you will soon witness what faith and obedience can birth. Your reward will not be revenge, it will be revelation. God is about to make visible what He has been building in secret. You will stand in places you once only prayed about. You will see favor where you once saw failure. And when that happens, don't forget the lesson of the turning table. It is not about triumph over others, it is about transformation within yourself. The miracle is not that you won. The miracle is that you remained kind, faithful, and true when bitterness would have been easier. The real victory is that your heart stayed pure while everything around you turned cold. Chosen one. When God elevates you, remember the climb. You are not rising to boast, you are rising to bless. The light that now shines on you is not a spotlight, it is a torch. You are meant to carry it into dark places and remind others that even pain has purpose. The same grace that lifted you must now flow through you. And if this message speaks to you, if you feel the tremor of divine reversal stirring within your spirit, then let gratitude overflow. You can express it in the simplest ways by sharing this word so others may find hope in their storm. By liking to affirm that you stand in agreement with the turning of your table. By subscribing so that your heart remains connected to this flow of faith and fire. And yes, for those who feel led, you may donate not out of obligation, but as an act of partnership with heaven's work on earth. Think of it not as giving to a voice, but sowing into a vineyard. Every seed you release becomes a prayer that travels farther than your own reach. You are helping to build a lighthouse that keeps burning for others still lost in the storm you've survived. Chosen one, what God is doing in you is bigger than money, followers, or fame. It is the quiet revolution of grace turning ashes into beauty, mourning into dancing, and captivity into freedom. You are standing in the in-between moment, the divine flip. What was beneath you will soon support you. What was against you will soon announce you. So, lift your head. The turning has begun. Heaven's hand is on the wheel, and every motion carries intention. You do not need to chase what's yours, it's already finding its way back to you. The tables are not turning by accident, they are turning by assignment. God is making all things right. And your story will testify that no force can reverse what He has decreed. Chosen one, the mantle falls on you. You feel it even if you cannot explain it, an invisible weight resting upon your shoulders. Not of burden, but of holy calling. You are not the same as before. Heaven has marked you, and that mark cannot be erased. Every trial you've endured was shaping you for this transfer of divine authority. The season of mere survival has ended. The mantle of impact, of influence, of spiritual leadership is being draped over your life right now. You once prayed for change, unaware that heaven was preparing you to be the change. You looked for someone else to lead, but God has chosen you. This moment is sacred, heaven's recognition of your endurance, your obedience, your quiet faithfulness when no one saw. Now, the mantle that once rested on your mentors, your predecessors, your spiritual lineage, falls upon you. You have been chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Do you remember how many times you wanted to give up? How many times the weight felt too heavy, the silence too loud, the path too lonely, yet somehow you kept walking. That somehow was not coincidence, it was calling. Every step, even the painful ones, brought you closer to this mantle moment. God never wastes a wound. He turns every scar into a seal of authority. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, Luke chapter 4, verse 18, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because He has anointed me." These words echo across time, now finding a home in your heart. The same Spirit that empowered Christ for His mission now empowers you for yours. You are not merely blessed, you are commissioned, chosen one. The mantle changes everything. It does not make life easier, but it gives purpose to every step. The mantle is not a crown of comfort, it is a cloak of calling. When you wear it, you carry heaven's agenda. You speak not your own words, but the words that shift atmospheres. You walk into rooms and light moves with you. The unseen world recognizes what rests upon you, even when people do not. You may not feel qualified, and that's exactly why you are. The mantle does not rest on the proud, it settles on the surrendered. God chooses vessels that are cracked so His light can shine through them. Your humility is not weakness, it is the doorway for power. The very moments that made you feel unworthy are what prepared you to carry something holy without being consumed by it. Think of Elijah and Elisha. The older prophet's cloak fell, and the younger one caught it not by accident, but by alignment. The moment Elisha refused to leave Elijah's side, heaven marked him for inheritance. That same pattern unfolds. Now you have stayed when others left, believed when others doubted, endured when others collapsed. You are next in line, not because you asked for position, but because you remained in posture. The mantle also carries responsibility. To wear it means to walk in reverence. You cannot live like before. Words that once wounded you no longer hold power. Your focus must shift from pain to purpose. Heaven expects more from you because heaven has invested more in you. Your actions now echo farther than you imagine. Every choice either amplifies or diminishes the power of the mantle. But fear not. Chosen one, you are not alone beneath this weight. The same Spirit who rests upon you also strengthens you. The mantle will not crush you. It will carry you. It will open doors you didn't even knock on, connect you with people you've never met, and bring resources you never planned for. Divine provision follows divine positioning. Now, as this mantle settles, heaven is waiting for your response. You can reject it out of fear, or you can receive it in faith. The choice is yours. God does not force the anointing, He offers it. To say yes is to surrender control of your comfort for the sake of His calling. But that yes will rewrite everything: your purpose, your voice, your legacy. Chosen one, pause here, breathe. Feel the weight not as pressure, but as promise. What rests on you now is bigger than you. Yet it perfectly fits you. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for. The waiting, the weeping, the wondering, all of it was leading to this divine transfer. If your spirit bears witness, if you feel this truth resonating deep within your soul, then affirm it openly. Type 888 inches, the comments. That number, a symbol of new beginnings and divine anointing, declares that you are ready to carry what heaven is placing upon you. Let this act not be ritual, but recognition, a public agreement with what has already been decreed in the unseen realm. The mantle has fallen, and it did not miss you. You are now clothed with power, guided by purpose, and protected by promise. Walk forward in quiet authority, for heaven itself walks with you. Chosen one. The chains begin to break. You can feel it in your spirit, a trembling, a shift, a release. What once held you captive no longer fits. The invisible restraints that have followed you for years are snapping one by one under the force of divine freedom. This is not imagination, it is emancipation. Heaven is declaring liberty over every area where darkness tried to claim authority. There were chains of fear that made you doubt your worth, chains of shame that silenced your voice, chains of disappointment that whispered you were too late. But the power of God does not negotiate with bondage, it destroys it. What once defined you is losing its hold, and the enemy knows it. You are walking out of the prison that no one could see, carrying a light that no darkness can quench. Every generation has a breaker, and you are that breaker in yours. The patterns that enslaved your family end with you. The addictions, the insecurities, the cycles of scarcity, all of them bow before the authority of Christ in you. You have been chosen not just to survive freedom, but to release it to others. You were born to interrupt the curses that have repeated for decades. Heaven trusts you with this assignment. Think back on your journey. The struggles you faced were not random. Each battle revealed a link in the chain. God allowed you to see them so you could recognize what needed to be broken. You cannot conquer what you won't confront, and you have confronted more than most ever will. Every tear shed in private was a declaration of war against your past. Every time you rose again, heaven struck another blow against bondage. Freedom is not just escape, it is transformation. God does not simply open the prison door, He teaches you how to walk in open spaces. The walls of your limitation are falling, but your mindset must follow. You are not a prisoner learning to live free, you are a liberator being raised to lead. The same grace that freed you is now flowing through you to those still bound by fear and failure. As it was written by the Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. That Spirit is not hovering above you, it dwells within you. Freedom is not coming, it is already here. The breath you just took was not ordinary, it was the sound of chains breaking in the unseen. Every inhale carries deliverance. Every exhale releases what no longer belongs. You may not even recognize the fullness of what is happening yet. Sometimes freedom begins quietly. A new peace where there was torment. A strange calm where anxiety once reigned. A deep knowing that you are no longer the same. That is the evidence of God's Spirit at work, breaking what years of effort could not. Chosen one. Don't be surprised if people from your past no longer recognize you. The chains they once saw you bound by have vanished, and your spirit shines differently now. Some will misunderstand this freedom as pride, but it is not arrogance, it is awakening. You are remembering who you were always meant to be. You are rediscovering your identity beyond pain, beyond labels, beyond limitation. Freedom also comes with discernment. You will notice that certain conversations no longer interest you. Certain environments feel heavier than before, and certain relationships begin to fade. That is not rejection, it is refinement. Freedom exposes what cannot follow you into the next season. The chains were never just around your hands, they were in the company you kept. As they break, you will rise lighter, clearer, and stronger. God's freedom is not fragile, it is final. When He breaks something, it stays broken, but you must choose to walk as one who is free. The doors are open, but you must step out. Do not look back at what once bound you. It has no authority anymore. You are not defined by what you escaped, but by what you now embody. Freedom is your new language. Chosen one. Imagine a bird that has been caged its entire life. One day, the cage door swings open, but it hesitates, uncertain if the sky will hold it. That hesitation is where many stay stuck. But not you. You were made for flight. The Spirit of the Lord has not just opened your door, He has strengthened your wings. The sound of chains hitting the ground is heaven's applause. You are not who you were last year, last month, or even yesterday. Every step you take now resounds with liberation. You walk differently because you are different. What once enslaved you now empowers your testimony. Chosen one. You carry freedom like fragrance. Those near you will sense it before you even speak. You are proof that no prison can outlast the presence of God. The chains have broken, and they will not return. Walk forward as the one who has been set free. For freedom is not your destination, it is your identity. Chosen one. The shift in the atmosphere has begun. You can sense it even before you see it. Something invisible but undeniable is moving through the air around you. It feels like pressure giving way to presence, like night yielding to dawn. Heaven is breathing, and the earth responds. The spiritual climate that once resisted you is bending in your favor. This is not mere coincidence, it is divine orchestration. You may not hear trumpets, yet all of creation is subtly rearranging itself to align with your destiny. Conversations are being guided, hearts are being softened, doors are being positioned to open. What once took effort will soon unfold effortlessly because the atmosphere has changed. Heaven has released new wind, and those who discern will catch its direction. You have walked through seasons of spiritual heaviness, times when it felt like nothing was moving. Every prayer seemed to echo back without reply. Every effort felt like walking through mud. Yet, now, the weight is lifting. The invisible opposition that hovered over your path is retreating because it cannot stand where divine order is re-establishing itself. You are stepping out of resistance and into release. Sometimes God shifts the atmosphere before He shifts your circumstances. It begins with the unseen, a stillness that feels strange, a sudden peace after years of turmoil. That is how heaven announces change. It whispers before it roars. The quiet you feel right now is not emptiness, it is expectation. The Spirit is hovering, waiting for your agreement to manifest what He has already declared. As the prophet Isaiah proclaimed long ago, Isaiah chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" Those words are echoing again across time, finding you in this very moment. God is not merely repeating the old, He is creating something unprecedented. The shift you feel is the birth of the new. Chosen one. Divine change rarely comes gently. When the wind of heaven moves, it disrupts everything that was stagnant. You might notice sudden endings, unexpected beginnings, and unexplained transitions. Do not panic, this is what happens when God rearranges the stage for revelation. The people who leave your life, the plans that dissolve, the doors that close, they are not signs of failure, but signals of movement. The atmosphere must clear before the next act begins. You may also feel tension in the shift, like a violin string being tightened before it can produce music. That stretching is necessary. It ensures that when heaven plays its melody through your life, the sound will be pure and powerful. Every uncomfortable adjustment is part of tuning your heart to the new frequency of faith. The old rhythm can no longer carry what is coming. Look around you, and you will notice small signs of alignment. Conversations that once discouraged you now inspire you. Tasks that used to drain you now flow easily. People who could not understand your vision begin to honor it. The spiritual fog is clearing because light is breaking through. You are entering a zone where obedience feels lighter, prayer feels deeper, and worship feels alive again. When the atmosphere shifts, so does your perception. You begin to see possibility where you once saw problems. The same environment that felt hostile now feels holy. This is not imagination, it is revelation. Heaven has declared a new season, and your spirit is awakening to its reality. The natural world follows what the spirit world establishes. Chosen one, remember that atmospheres respond to authority. When you carry peace, chaos loses power. When you speak truth, confusion dissolves. You are not a passive witness in this shift, you are a participant. Every word you speak in alignment with heaven shapes the air around you. You do not just live in the atmosphere, you help create it. This is why the shift began within you before it appeared around you. The heart must change before the horizon does. The atmosphere outside only mirrors the transformation inside. You surrendered, you healed, you forgave, and in doing so, you triggered a chain reaction in the unseen. The moment you released bitterness, heaven released blessing. The moment you let go of fear, the winds of favor began to blow. Now, the environment around you is fertile. What once refused to grow will begin to blossom. The ground that yielded only thorns will now produce fruit. God has spoken, and His word has charged the atmosphere with promise. Every prayer you've prayed is now gathering in the clouds, ready to rain. Chosen one, step gently but boldly into this new air. It carries the scent of transformation. The old atmosphere of stagnation has expired. You breathe differently now because you belong to a new spiritual climate. The wind that once opposed you is now carrying you forward. Let it lift you higher, steady you deeper, and align you perfectly with the will of God. The shift in the atmosphere is real. Heaven has moved, and so have you. The pressure is gone, the presence remains. All creation is responding to your obedience, and everything around you will begin to reflect the peace and purpose within you. The new thing has begun. Section 9, Chosen One. Faith ignites the impossible. It is the unseen spark that sets heaven's will ablaze upon the earth. You have reached a place where logic can no longer guide you, where numbers, plans, and explanations fail to make sense. This is holy territory, the land of pure trust. The world calls it risk, but heaven calls it obedience. You are being invited to believe beyond what you can calculate, to step forward even when the path is hidden. Every miracle ever recorded began with faith that defied reason. Noah built an ark before rain existed. Abraham walked toward a land he had never seen. Peter stepped onto waves that should have swallowed him. And you, yes, you are next in that divine lineage of believers who dare to trust what cannot yet be proven. The impossible is not reserved for the extraordinary. It is released to those who simply refuse to doubt. As was declared by the physician Luke in his Gospel. Luke chapter 1, verse 37. For with God, nothing will be impossible. These words still echo across generations, calling your name now. Faith does not deny reality, it overrides it. It does not ignore mountains, it commands them to move. The moment you choose to believe, heaven begins rearranging what the natural world called final. Faith is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move anyway. You may still feel trembling in your hands, but courage grows in motion. The smallest step of faith can unlock the greatest door of destiny. Do not wait until you feel ready. Faith thrives in the spaces where readiness ends. God does not need your confidence, He only asks for your consent. Chosen one, The impossible has been waiting for your yes. That dream you thought was too big. That healing you thought was too late. That reconciliation you thought was too far gone. It's not beyond reach. Faith bridges the distance between promise and manifestation. Heaven is not limited by what you lack. Miracles are not measured by might but by belief. You do not have to understand how, you only have to trust who. Every challenge in your life right now is secretly a setup for faith's fire. Pressure is the match. Obedience is the flame. And persistence is the oxygen. When all three align, the impossible ignites. What once seemed dead begins to stir. The lifeless ideas, the lost hope, the long-forgotten callings, they start to rise again under the heat of divine belief. You are standing in a sacred spark moment, where faith becomes sight. There is a sound in heaven that only faith can release. It is the sound of angels preparing answers, of doors unlocking, of provision accelerating. Every time you choose faith over fear, that sound grows louder. It shakes the foundations of delay and dismantles the architecture of doubt. You may not see it yet, but something is moving because you dared to believe. Chosen one, faith is contagious. When you believe, you give permission for others to hope again. Your story becomes a seed that multiplies miracles in the lives of those who hear it. That is why the enemy fought so hard to break your faith, because he knew what your belief would birth. But he failed. You are still standing, still trusting, still declaring that God is able. There will be moments when your faith feels small. But remember, mountains don't move because of the size of your faith. They move because of the size of your God. Even mustard seed faith carries heaven's weight. The smallest whisper of "I believe" can dismantle a lifetime of impossibility. So now, chosen one, as you read this, let heaven witness your agreement. Type "It is done" in the comments, not as a wish, but as a declaration. You are not asking, you are affirming. When you say it, you announce that faith has already finished what your eyes have yet to see. It is your way of signing heaven's contract with trust. You are walking into a realm where prayers become testimonies and visions become visible. The laws of limitation no longer apply to you. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead flows through your veins. The atmosphere around you is charged with divine possibility. Every impossible thing in your life is trembling, waiting for your next act of faith. Chosen one, do not hesitate now. Step forward into the invisible. For the invisible is more real than what you can touch. Faith is your passport to miracles. Belief is your key to divine reality. You are not waiting for signs, the signs are waiting for you. Speak what heaven has spoken. Move where heaven leads. And watch as impossibility bows to your obedience. The impossible is not impossible anymore. Faith has ignited it. Chosen one, divine exposure begins. The season of hiddenness has served its purpose. And now heaven is bringing your name into rooms you have never entered. You are not forcing the door, grace is opening it. The light that once shone only in secret will now illuminate you before those who need to see what obedience looks like. This is not about fame, it is about function. God is positioning you, not for attention, but for assignment. You have been faithful in obscurity, and heaven never forgets faithfulness. Every unseen prayer, every quiet act of kindness, every moment you obeyed when no one was watching has been recorded in eternity. Now the time has come for reward to meet remembrance. The divine hand is turning the page, and your story is entering its public chapter. Exposure can feel frightening because it removes your shelter of anonymity. But fear not, for what is revealed by God is always protected by God. He will not unveil what he has not fortified. You are not being sent into visibility to be consumed. You are being sent to carry light into darkened places. The radiance you carry is not your own, it is reflection. When people see you, they will see him. According to what is written in the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 16, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. That promise now unfolds in your life. Your gift, the very thing heaven planted within you, is opening doors that influence and intellect could not. You are not entering these spaces by reputation, but by revelation. The divine spotlight seeks not popularity, but purpose. Chosen one. Think of a candle in a dark cathedral. It does not scream for attention, it simply burns. Yet every eye turns toward its glow. That is divine exposure. You don't need to compete or compare. Just shine where you are placed. The world is starved for authentic light. When you walk in truth, you automatically stand out in a generation addicted to pretense. This exposure will attract both favor and friction. Some will celebrate you. Others will question you. But remember, diamonds glitter most when held under scrutiny. What they mistake for sudden success is actually the unveiling of years of unseen shaping. God has already vindicated you in secret. Now he will affirm you in public. Chosen one. Your name is being whispered in divine corridors. Conversations about you are happening in places you've never set foot. Not gossip, but prophecy. God is sending your reputation ahead of you like the dawn before sunrise. The hearts of those assigned to help you are being stirred. Even now, people who do not yet know your name are feeling the pull of your purpose. That is how divine exposure works. It prepares the hearts of those who will meet your light. You will soon find yourself in rooms where your authenticity is your greatest currency. In those spaces, titles fade, and truth speaks louder than status. The power of your journey, the way you overcame storms, chains, and silence, will carry an authority that cannot be denied. You will not need to announce yourself. Heaven has already done the introduction. And when that happens, remember humility. Light that blinds is not useful. Light that guides is. Be the lantern, not the lightning. The world does not need another echo. It needs a voice that reminds them of heaven. When God lifts you, it is not so you can be admired. It is so others can be inspired. Now, chosen one, if this message resonates within you, if you sense that this word describes the very shift you feel in your spirit, then let gratitude rise. You can like this moment as an act of acknowledgement. Share it to scatter light into other waiting hearts. Or subscribe to stay aligned with the ongoing stream of divine messages that water your soul. And if the Spirit nudges your heart to donate, do it not as a transaction but as a translation, turning gratitude into seed, like a gardener planting in rich soil. What you sow here returns multiplied, not in coin but in clarity, not in fame but in faith. Every contribution, no matter how small, is a whisper to heaven that says, I believe in this light. Together, we are building a table where thousands may eat from hope. Chosen one. Divine exposure is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of influence. When you shine, you remind others that the night cannot win. You are the candle in the cathedral, the lighthouse on the coast, the sunrise after years of grey. Keep shining, not for applause, but for alignment. Heaven is amplifying your light so that the lost may find their way home through you. Chosen one, the time has come when your enemies bow to purpose. You have walked through seasons of misunderstanding, seasons where falsehood was louder than truth, and seasons where those you trusted turned away. Yet even in betrayal, God was building something unshakable within you. You learned how to stand without applause, how to pray without witnesses, and how to forgive without condition. Now heaven rises to vindicate you, not with vengeance, but with victory. Every enemy that mocked you has unknowingly helped prepare your throne. Their resistance was the pressure that produced your refinement. The stones they threw became the steps you climbed. And now, as divine justice unfolds, those who once laughed will have no choice but to watch the fulfillment of what they denied, not because you asked for revenge, but because God never leaves truth buried forever. Vindication is not about proving them wrong, it's about proving God right. He saw your pain, your restraint, your tears that watered the soil of obedience. And now that soil bears fruit visible, undeniable, and fragrant with grace. What the enemy meant for humiliation has turned into elevation. The tables have turned, not in anger, but in divine order. Think of Joseph, betrayed by brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison, yet every betrayal was a bridge. Each act of cruelty carried him closer to the palace. When his brothers stood before him years later, trembling in guilt, Joseph wept, not with bitterness, but with understanding. What they meant for harm became the very vessel of salvation for them all. That is the mystery of grace. It turns opposition into opportunity, wounds into wisdom, rejection into revelation. As it is written in the book of Psalms, Psalm chapter 110, verse 1, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." These ancient words are not about arrogance, they are about alignment. God is not giving you power over people, He is giving you peace over persecution. The footstool is not for your comfort, but for your stability. You will stand taller, not because others fall, but because heaven lifts you above the weight of bitterness. Chosen one. When enemies bow, it is not always literal. Sometimes the bow happens through silence, when those who spoke against you can no longer find words. Sometimes it happens through realization, when they see that you were walking in truth all along. And sometimes it happens through transformation, when the very ones who hurt you return to ask forgiveness. Not because you demanded it, but because God convicted them. Do not rejoice in their downfall, rejoice in your deliverance. The greatest victory is not that you win the argument, but that you keep your heart clean. When mercy becomes your response, you prove that the enemy failed to poison your spirit. God's justice is always wrapped in love. He does not expose to shame, He exposes to heal. And when He lifts you up before those who doubted you, it is not to humiliate them, it is to demonstrate His unfailing faithfulness. Chosen one. Your posture in this season matters. Do not gloat. Do not justify. Simply shine. Let the evidence of God's work in your life speak louder than your defense ever could. The fruit of favor will silence every falsehood. What once was rumor will now be revelation. Those who left you will realize they walked away from grace, not from weakness. You are entering a season of visible reversal. Places where you were rejected will now request your presence. The very people who once overlooked you will begin to ask for your insight. The honor that once bypassed you will find its way back, purified of ego and filled with purpose. This is not coincidence, it is divine symmetry. God never wastes a story, He completes it. Even the enemy's plan served your process. Without their resistance, you might have settled. Without their criticism, you might have doubted your value. Without their betrayal, you might have depended on human validation instead of divine affirmation. Everything they did, heaven repurposed. You are not a victim of their cruelty, you are a victor of their contribution. And when you see them again, those who caused the wounds, remember, grace does not erase memory, but it removes the sting. You will look at them and feel no hate, only gratitude for the fire that forged your faith. Forgiveness will not feel like surrender, it will feel like freedom. Chosen one, this is your moment of divine reversal. The story ends not with revenge, but with revelation. God is showing you that He alone writes endings. You do not need to defend yourself, for the author of justice has already signed your name into triumph. The enemies that rose against you will become the witnesses to your transformation, not because you demanded it, but because mercy always wins. So stand tall, not in pride, but in peace. The throne you rise to is not made of gold, it is built from grace. Every betrayal that broke you has now become the proof that God was building you all along. The footstool is ready. Walk forward, not to boast, but to bless. For when enemies bow, heaven applauds, not because of your triumph, but because you chose love when hate was easier. Chosen one, this is the season of overflow. The long drought is over, and the clouds that once held your prayers in waiting are about to release their rain. You have walked faithfully through scarcity, through the silence of unanswered requests, through the ache of almost but not yet. Every sacrifice, every act of quiet obedience, every seed you planted in faith is now reaching full harvest. Heaven has declared, enough withholding. The rivers are breaking open. For too long, you have lived from survival mode, stretching little into enough, turning crumbs into meals, and hope into endurance. But the same God who sustained you in lack is now ready to surprise you in abundance. This overflow is not reward for perfection, it is the fruit of perseverance. You did not quit when it was dry. You kept believing when there was nothing left to see. And heaven never forgets faith like that. Chosen one, abundance is not always gold and glitter. Sometimes it arrives as peace that finally stays, as laughter that returns after long silence, as opportunities that once seemed impossible now knocking at your door. Overflow means more than enough love to give, enough strength to endure, enough joy to share. You will not live empty anymore. The cup of your life is tilting toward fullness. As the psalmist once wrote in his sacred song, Psalm chapter 23, verse 5, "My cup overflows." Those words, once written by David, are now being written upon your days. This is not poetic coincidence, it is prophetic continuity. The same shepherd who guided David through valleys and shadows is guiding you into a season of visible provision. You must understand, this overflow does not begin in the bank, it begins in the heart. Gratitude is the first fountain. When you thank God for what you have, He multiplies what you hold. The miracle of overflow flows through appreciation. Complaining closes the door, but thanksgiving opens the floodgates. You survived the season of barely enough. Now you must learn how to live in more than enough without losing humility. Chosen one. Sometimes overflow begins quietly. You'll wake up one morning and realize the anxiety that once ruled your mind has vanished. You'll find yourself surrounded by peace instead of panic, opportunity instead of opposition. These are signs that heaven's river has changed direction. You are standing where the tide turns, where lack ends, and plenty begins. But overflow also demands stewardship. God does not pour where hands are closed. Keep your spirit open. Generosity keeps the flow alive. When you give, you make space for more. The reason the ocean never runs dry is because it's always giving to the sky. You, too, must remain in motion, receiving and releasing, gathering and giving. This is the rhythm of divine abundance. You might ask, why now? Because you are finally ready. The years of scarcity taught you how to value what you once took for granted. The dry ground of waiting taught you to pray, to trust, to depend. Heaven could not pour until your vessel was strong enough to carry the weight of blessing without cracking under pride. What once would have spoiled you will now sustain you. Chosen one. This overflow will reach every area: relationships, resources, revelation. You will no longer live in fragments, but in fullness. The joy that was delayed will arrive doubled. The provision that was withheld will arrive multiplied. The peace that was stolen will return secured. You are not stepping into a trickle, you are stepping into a flood. And when it comes, do not shrink back. Many hide from abundance because they have been trained by pain. But this time, you will not sabotage the blessing. You are healed enough to receive without fear. You are mature enough to hold without idolizing. You are wise enough to overflow without wasting. Now pause and breathe. Chosen one. Feel the weight of this word. Heaven's dam is breaking open, and the river has your name written upon it. This is not borrowed favor, it is your inheritance. The wilderness was never meant to last forever. It was simply the bridge between promise and plenty. If this word stirs your spirit, affirm it in faith. Type 444 inches, the comments. That number symbolizes open doors, divine stability, and heavenly order. When you write it, you declare that your overflow is not chaos, it is covenant. You are stepping into divine rhythm, where blessing flows not just to you but through you. This is the season when your cup will no longer run dry. You will drink deeply from peace, love, and provision. And the same hands that once trembled in emptiness will now overflow with grace. You have crossed the line between waiting and receiving. Heaven has released abundance, and this time, it will not stop. Chosen one. You are becoming a living testimony. You are no longer just someone who survived. You are proof that grace is stronger than grief, that faith outlasts failure, and that light always returns after darkness. The story that once brought you shame will now bring others strength. Heaven is not rewriting your past, it is redeeming it. Every chapter you thought was wasted is now being woven into a masterpiece of divine mercy. There was a time when you wanted to forget everything, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the years that felt stolen, but God never forgets what He intends to transform. He has taken what once crushed you and turned it into the very soil of your calling. The moments that made you cry will become the message that makes others rise. Your pain has become prophecy. Chosen one. Testimonies are not built in comfort. They are born in conflict. Every valley you walk through was gathering evidence for your vindication. Heaven has been collecting receipts of your endurance. The storms that tried to drown you will now serve as landmarks of where grace prevailed. The very tears that blurred your vision will one day shine as jewels on your crown of perseverance. Do you remember when you thought you were finished, the nights when even prayer felt hollow, yet something inside refused to die? That was God's breath still working in you, even in silence. He was writing, even in loss. He was leading. You thought you were sinking, but you were being submerged in purpose. The same deep that threatened to drown you became the well from which wisdom now flows. As the Apostle John recorded in the final revelation of Scripture, Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. That is your anthem now. You did not overcome by strength, by strategy, or by skill. You overcame by the cross and by your confession, by the power of what God has done in you. Chosen one. There are people waiting for your story. You may not realize it, but your scars carry the language of someone else's hope. What you survived is the manual someone else is praying for. The details of your deliverance are not private, they are prophetic. You are the evidence that God still rescues, still redeems, still restores. Every time you speak truthfully about where you've been and who carried you through, you release healing into the world. You once saw your story as something to hide, but God calls it something to hold high. Testimonies are not trophies, they are torches. They light the way for others still trapped in their night. When you speak, chains tremble. When you share, someone's heart starts to believe again. Your voice has authority because your victory is authentic. You are not repeating someone else's sermon, you are speaking from scars that shine. Chosen one. Understand this, your testimony is not a performance, it is a proclamation. You do not have to embellish it. Truth is powerful enough. Tell it as it is raw, real, and redemptive. God gets the glory not because your story is perfect, but because His love proved unstoppable within it. The more honest you are, the more heaven amplifies your voice. Sometimes the greatest testimony is not that everything worked out, but that you still trust God even when it didn't. Some of your victories are visible, but others are invisible peace that replaced panic, forgiveness that silenced hatred, hope that rose from ashes. These unseen triumphs are no less miraculous. They are the daily proof that faith still works. Chosen one. Your testimony carries fragrance. The world will recognize that scent. It is the aroma of grace. Those near you will feel it before you speak. Your presence alone will remind them that survival is sacred, that healing is possible, that resurrection is real. You will become a living sermon, preaching without words, radiating redemption through your countenance and compassion. And remember, every new challenge that comes is not punishment, it is another page being written. The story is not finished, and the author has not put down his pen. You will keep overcoming. Chapter after chapter, line after line. Each victory will add another verse to your living gospel. There will come a day when someone looks at you and says, "If God could do it for them, He can do it for me." That will be the moment heaven's purpose in your pain is complete. Your story will have become a bridge for another soul to cross from despair into deliverance. Chosen one, you are walking proof that grace is not an idea, it is alive. Every breath you take, every smile that returns, every act of kindness that flows from your healing is testimony. You are not just telling of God's goodness, you are embodying it. The world may forget sermons, but it never forgets transformed lives, and yours is one of them. Chosen one, heaven's voice now speaks through you. You are no longer just a listener, you are a vessel. The same spirit that whispered comfort in your dark nights now flows through your words to awaken others. You are not merely echoing what you have heard, you are releasing what you have lived. The language of heaven has found a home in your mouth. And when you speak, atmospheres shift. This is what all the silence was preparing you for. The years of being misunderstood were shaping your message. The times when no one believed you were building your conviction. The wilderness trained your tongue. You learned how to speak with precision because you were taught by pain and refined by prayer. Every word now carries weight. Every sentence bears seed. Heaven does not waste breath, and neither should you. The calling on your life has matured. You no longer speak for attention, you speak for transformation. You do not preach to impress, you speak to impart. The world is filled with noise, but your voice carries distinction because it comes from encounter, not imitation. There is oil on your speech, the kind that cannot be taught, only transferred through intimacy with God. You will notice it. Chosen one, how people fall silent when you begin to speak, how hearts soften, how tears rise. That is not charisma, that is conviction. Heaven moves through humility, and your surrender has made your voice a sanctuary. The words you release are no longer yours, they are borrowed from eternity, carried through time to meet brokenness and heal it. As it was written by the psalmist of old, Psalm chapter 81, verse 10, "Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it." Those ancient words are now alive in you. Heaven fills what humility opens. When you yield, He speaks. The secret is not eloquence, it is emptiness. A full cup cannot be filled, but an open mouth can be flooded. You have learned to pause before speaking, to listen before declaring, to wait until the Spirit breathes, and that is why your voice now carries life. Chosen one, every word that comes through you will carry the fragrance of heaven. Some will hear it and feel peace, others will feel conviction. That is the double-edged nature of truth. It comforts and corrects. It heals and humbles. You will not need to manipulate hearts. Truth will do its own work. You are not responsible for the outcome, only the obedience. Speak when the Spirit moves, and trust Him to water what you release. The world needs your voice because it needs His voice through you. There are souls who will only awaken when they hear your particular sound, your cadence, your story, your tone. They are all instruments in heaven's symphony. Do not silence yourself out of fear of judgment. Silence in the face of calling is disobedience disguised as humility. Speak boldly, but tenderly, firmly, but faithfully. You will find that sometimes heaven speaks through you in whispers, not thunder, a gentle word at the right moment, a simple phrase that pierces through despair, a quiet prayer that shifts the unseen. Do not measure impact by volume. The smallest drop of living water can still stir an ocean of change. Chosen one. Words are seeds. Each one you release will take root somewhere. Some will sprout instantly. Others will wait for the right season. You may not always see the harvest, but heaven does. The call on your life is not to count the fruit, it is to keep sowing faithfully. Speak love into the bitter, light into the weary, and truth into the wandering. You are a carrier of divine vocabulary. And be careful with your tongue, it now holds creative power. What you bless will flourish, what you curse will wither. That is why God trained you with silence first, so your words would never wound without purpose. Every syllable you release must now align with His heart, not your emotion. You are His messenger, not His replacement. Heaven trusts you with this weight because you have learned restraint. You know that timing is as sacred as truth. You know that correction without compassion is cruelty. You know that revelation without relationship is noise. And so, when you speak, your words will carry balance, both fire and tenderness, both authority and grace. Soon, chosen one, your voice will travel farther than you imagine. It will reach places your feet have never touched. It will echo through hearts that have never met you. That is how divine speech works. It travels beyond distance and beyond time. Somewhere, someone will hear your words and find God again. Do not underestimate what heaven can do through your mouth. The same breath that once sighed in exhaustion now prophesies restoration. The same tongue that once cried out for mercy now declares miracles. You have become a conduit, a bridge between the seen and unseen. Heaven's voice through you is not a performance, it is partnership. You are no longer just speaking about God, you are speaking from Him. Chosen one, keep your heart pure, your ears open, and your lips yielded. You are the echo of eternity wrapped in human breath, and through you, heaven continues to speak. Chosen one, the crown returns home. You have wandered through battles, losses, and lessons. And now, heaven extends what was always meant to rest upon your head, authority restored, dignity renewed, identity remembered. The crown was never lost. It was being refined in fire. You were not stripped of glory, you were being shaped to carry it without arrogance. The years that humbled you have now made you worthy to wear what pride once disqualified. Every storm that tested you polished the gold. Every betrayal that broke you carved compassion into your heart. Every delay forged discernment. The crown you wear now is not the same as the one you imagined. It is not made of jewels that sparkle in light, but of scars that glimmer in grace. It carries both beauty and burden, both majesty and memory. You have earned it not by striving, but by surrender. Chosen one. Crowns are not handed to the proud, they are placed upon the bowed. God lifts the humble, not the loud. You have walked through enough darkness to value light, through enough loss to appreciate restoration. This crown is not a symbol of power, it is a reminder of purpose. It tells the world that you have overcome without becoming bitter, that you have reigned over yourself before ruling over anything else. As was written in the final letters to the faithful, Revelation chapter 3, verse 11, "Hold fast what you have, so no one may take your crown." This is not a warning born of fear, but of love. The true danger is not that someone will steal your crown, but that you might forget its worth. Distraction can dull your focus. Pride can loosen your grip, and weariness can make you lay it down. But heaven urges you, hold fast. Protect what grace placed upon you. Chosen one. Picture a king returning from exile. His robes are tattered, his crown dented, yet his eyes burn with wisdom no throne could teach. That is you. You have returned from the wilderness, crowned with understanding. The trials have made you sovereign over your own heart. You reign now, not with control, but with compassion. You no longer seek to dominate, but to restore. The crown sits not as decoration, but as declaration. You are trusted again. Yet remember, crowns are not for comfort. They are for calling. They attract both honor and opposition. Light draws moths and enemies alike. But do not fear their attention. A true crown cannot be shaken by noise. It is fastened not by gold but by grace. You wear what was forged in fire, and no hand of man can remove what heaven has decreed. Now, chosen one, as you rise into this restoration, let gratitude be your first act. When kings were crowned in ancient days, they offered gifts to the temple, not because the crown made them rich, but because it made them aware. Gratitude was their acknowledgement that power without worship is peril. Let your modern offering be the same. If this message has touched your spirit, let your heart respond not as ritual, but as recognition. You may like this moment to seal your agreement. Share it so that others might find their own forgotten crowns. Or subscribe to stay close to the rhythm of words that water your calling. And if your heart stirs to donate, let it be like a river returning to its source. Every drop poured into this well keeps the light burning for others who still wander through their wilderness. Your contribution, whether through time, encouragement, or resource, is not just support, it is sacred participation. You are helping build a house of words where weary souls can remember who they are. Think of it as adding a stone to a cathedral still rising. Each act of generosity, another spark keeping the fire of revelation alive. Chosen one. The crown upon your head gleams because of humility beneath it. When people see you shining, let them see him through you. Wear your crown with quiet strength, not to boast of your victory, but to bless others through it. Crowns are heaviest when worn for self, but weightless when lifted in service. The more you pour out, the brighter it gleams. And as you walk forward, let your crown remind you the throne is not your destination. It is your platform to serve. The world does not need another ruler, it needs another redeemer. Another voice of compassion. Another light in shadowed places. You are not sitting on the throne to rest, you are standing on it to reach. Chosen one. The crown is home again. It rests not on pride, but on peace. Not on perfection, but on perseverance. You have been restored to royal identity, clothed again in purpose and purity. The King who called you has trusted you anew. Walk with your head high, not for applause, but for alignment. And before you go, let your heart respond one final time. Leave a comment. Your words, like jewels among many. Each sentence is a sparkle of shared testimony, proof that heaven's royalty still walks the earth. Chosen one. You are now walking in divine rhythm. The chaos that once dictated your pace has surrendered to a higher order. You are no longer rushing ahead or lagging behind. You are moving in perfect sync with heaven's heartbeat. What once felt like delay was divine timing teaching you tempo. Every step now lands where grace has already prepared ground. You do not need to strive anymore. Alignment has replaced anxiety. This is what happens when purpose meets peace. Life begins to move like music, each note intentional, each pause meaningful. You no longer stumble through random moments. You flow through orchestrated purpose. Heaven conducts, and you follow with trust. The path ahead is not being invented, it is being revealed. One measure at a time. You have learned that obedience creates harmony, and resistance creates noise. Now, your soul has become an instrument finely tuned to divine frequency. Chosen one. Divine rhythm is not about perfection, but partnership. It means your will and God's will are no longer wrestling, they are dancing. Every yes you whispered in secret became a step in this choreography. You have learned when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when to listen. Heaven's rhythm cannot be forced, it must be felt. And you feel it now. Not with your mind, but with your spirit. There was a time when you chased open doors that were never meant for you, mistaking activity for purpose. But divine rhythm has taught you that peace is the true confirmation. If the door demands you to lose your integrity to enter, it is not yours. If it requires you to silence your spirit to fit in, it is not aligned with heaven's melody. Divine rhythm always leads you into purpose without robbing you of peace. Chosen one. Look back and see the pattern you thought you were moving in circles. But heaven was drawing a spiral. Each round took you higher, closer to the center of calling. The rhythm may have repeated, but you were rising all along. What once felt like stagnation was actually preparation. God was syncing your heart to His timing, so that when the door opened, you would walk through it without hesitation or pride. As it was written in the ancient record of the Apostles, Acts chapter 17, verse 28, "In Him we live and move and have our being." This is the essence of divine rhythm. You are not walking beside Him. You are walking within Him. Your life no longer moves independently of His will. Every breath, every step, every thought now harmonizes with His eternal cadence. Divine rhythm means you no longer panic when plans shift. You understand now that redirection is not rejection, it is choreography. God's movements are rarely linear, but they are always purposeful. The delays, the detours, the pauses, they all have rhythm embedded within them. Even silence carries sound if you listen closely enough. The pauses in music are not absence, they are anticipation. You have learned to trust the pauses. There was a time when you filled them with noise, terrified of stillness. But now you recognize that stillness is not inactivity, it is intimacy. The pauses are where God whispers instructions too sacred for chaos to hear. The stillness is the studio where heaven composes your next move. You are not idle, you are incubating revelation. Chosen one. Walking in divine rhythm also means you have learned to let go of control. You no longer need to script every outcome. The composer knows the ending, you only need to follow the score. Control is exhausting, but surrender is effortless when trust is real. The rhythm of heaven is not rushed, it is steady. It moves with grace, not pressure. You can finally exhale and flow. As you walk now, you will notice divine coincidences, people appearing at the perfect moment, opportunities aligning without striving, words coming to your lips with precision. These are not accidents, They are syncopations in heaven's symphony. Every event harmonizes with your destiny. Even what seems offbeat will later reveal its purpose in the greater melody. Chosen one. Divine rhythm protects you from burnout. You no longer chase what isn't yours, and you no longer cling to what's expired. You know when to stay and when to step away. You know that not all movement is progress, and not all silence is delay. The rhythm of heaven sustains what the rush of ambition cannot. Now you live lighter, love deeper, and listen longer. You wake up not driven, but directed. You rest without guilt, and you move without fear. You are becoming the melody heaven hums through human form. Your life is not random noise, it is divine music unfolding across time. Chosen one. Keep walking in step with grace. Do not run ahead of the tempo or slow down from doubt. The rhythm that guides you is older than time and stronger than failure. Stay in sync, and everything meant for you will arrive precisely when it should, never early, never late. Chosen one. Glory is being unveiled, and your miracle is finally rising. The air around you is electric with fulfillment. The long anticipation has ripened into manifestation. Everything that was promised, everything that was whispered in the stillness, everything that once seemed impossible is beginning to take visible form. You stand now on the threshold of divine completion, watching the unseen step into the light. This is not coincidence, it is culmination. The waiting, the warfare, the weeping, all of it has converged into this moment of revelation. God has not forgotten a single syllable of what He spoke over your life. His promises have been gestating in the womb of time, and now they crown into reality. The miracle does not rise in chaos, but in clarity. It appears not when you grasp, but when you rest. Heaven performs best when your hands are open. Chosen one. Do you feel the shift? The heaviness that once clung to your chest has lifted. The fear that whispered of failure has grown silent. There is a peace that does not come from circumstances, but from completion. The miracle you carry is breathing now. It is not just an event, it is an embodiment. You have become the very thing you prayed for, living evidence that God finishes what He starts. Every promise has its process, and you have endured yours with grace. You did not rush the timing or force the outcome. You learned that faith is not about manipulation, it is about trust. And that trust has made you ready to receive what you once could only imagine. The glory that now surrounds you is not merely shining on you, it radiates from you. You are no longer waiting for the miracle, you are walking as one. As the prophet once declared with certainty, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 5, "The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people shall see it together." That revelation has begun within you. The glory of God is not descending as light from afar, it is rising like dawn from within your spirit. This is what happens when a heart fully yielded to God meets the perfect timing of heaven. The human becomes the horizon of divine light. Chosen one. Glory does not mean glamour. It does not come to decorate your life. It comes to demonstrate God's faithfulness. Glory means weight, the weight of responsibility, of presence, of truth. You carry something sacred now. The light of God within you is not ornamental, it is transformational. Wherever you walk, darkness retreats, not because you are flawless, but because you are filled. The miracle rising in your life is not for spectacle, it is for stewardship. God does not perform to impress, He manifests to empower. What He has done for you is meant to flow through you. The same power that lifted you from despair will lift others through your testimony. The glory you carry is contagious. Every life you touch will feel its warmth. Chosen one. Understand this mystery. Miracles are not magic. They are mercy revealed. God never does anything to prove His power. He does it to prove His love. The rising of your miracle is a message to the world that He still remembers, still redeems, still resurrects. Every person who once doubted your endurance will see not your greatness, but His grace. You will stand as a living altar, a witness that faith is not foolishness, it is foundation. Now, as glory unfolds, do not rush to explain it. Some will ask how it happened, expecting formulas and steps. But miracles cannot be reverse engineered. They are gifts of divine intimacy. Tell them the truth. It was grace, and grace alone. You simply stayed long enough for heaven to finish its work. That endurance was your worship. Your yes was your weapon, and your surrender was the soil where the miracle took root. Look around. Chosen one. The horizon glows differently now. The night has not disappeared, it has been transformed by light. The same world that once seemed hostile now hums with harmony. Everything has shifted because you have. You no longer see through the lens of fear, but through the vision of faith fulfilled. The world looks brighter because your spirit burns clearer. This is what glory feels like, not a flash of fame, but the quiet awareness that God's fingerprints cover everything. You are standing inside the answer, breathing inside the miracle, shining within the manifestation. Nothing was wasted. Every tear became a river. Every scar became a doorway. Every delay became design. Chosen one. The miracle has not just risen, it is reigning. You will never again walk as the waiting one. You will walk as the witness. What God began in you has matured into fullness. Heaven's purpose has met earth's moment, and you are its meeting point. The story that began in struggle ends in splendor. The promise is alive, the glory revealed, and the testimony complete. You are living proof that when God steps in, nothing remains the same. The impossible bows, the waiting ends, the miracle rises, and through you, it shines. Chosen one, you have reached the end of this divine journey. Yet, in truth, it is not an ending, it is an awakening. You have walked through revelation, restoration, and redemption. Each word you've read was not coincidence, it was conversation. Heaven has been speaking, not just to you, but through you. You carry now the rhythm, the peace, and the fire of everything this message has ignited. Take a moment to breathe and feel it, the quiet triumph of a spirit that refused to give up. You are standing as proof that every delay was divine, every detour deliberate, every battle necessary. The light within you shines differently now. It is steady, sacred, unstoppable. You are no longer the seeker, you are the signal. A living testimony that when God steps in, everything changes. And if this journey has stirred something in your soul, let gratitude be your response. You can simply like this message as an act of agreement, a way of saying, yes, I receive it. You can share it, allowing the same light that found you to reach someone still walking through their midnight. Your one action could become the dawn for another. You are welcome to subscribe not out of habit, but to stay connected to this ongoing stream of revelation, hope, and restoration. Every word released here is crafted to keep your spirit aligned with heaven's movement. And finally, take a moment to comment below. Your words are not just feedback, they are ripples of faith. Write from your heart. Write your revelation, or even a single sentence of gratitude. Together, we weave a chorus of chosen ones, declaring, "Heaven still speaks." The journey continues. Chosen one. The story doesn't end here, it expands through you.